68 teams, one dream: to cut down the nets on Monday, April 8th, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at US Bank Stadium. This is March Madness. Hello, friends, and welcome to the 8th annual Strictly Sports Selection Sunday Special. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher, the voice of March Madness, alongside my broadcast partner on my end, Michael Bullock. Gentlemen, it's here. March Madness. Here we go again. And we're not going to keep you waiting, folks. The bracket is out, and we're going to go region by region. And I will have an announcement at the end of the show. So let's try to get this in. Let's try not to take too long with this. So with all that being said, let's start it off with the number one overall seed in MF. I bet you got a Cheshire cat-like grin on your face right about now, because stop me if you've heard this one before. Number one overall seed, it's MF's Duke Blue Devils. And they will square off against the winner of a play-in game between NC Central and North Dakota State. By the way, these first couple of games will be in Columbia, South Carolina on Friday and Sunday. The number 8 seed is the Virginia Commonwealth Rams. And by the way, this is the East region we're talking about here. Virginia Commonwealth, they are the number 8 seed, VCU. And they're going to be squaring off against the number 9 seed, UCF Knights. And then from there, San Jose, California, the Shark Tank, Friday, Sunday games as follows. The number 5 seed, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And they're going to square off against the number 12 seed, the Liberty Flames. And then from there, the number 4 seed, the Virginia Tech Hokies. And they're going to square off against the winners of the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament this afternoon, the Billikens of St. Louis. Thursday, Saturday games in Jacksonville, Florida. The number 6 seed, the Maryland Terrapins, formerly of the ACC, now of the Big Ten. They're going to square off against the winner of a play-in game between Temple and Belmont for that number 11 seed. And then the number 3 seed, the LSU Tigers, and they're going to be squaring off against the winners of the Ivy League tournament this afternoon, Yale, as the number 14 seed. Thursday, Saturday games in Des Moines, Iowa. The number 7 seed, the Louisville Cardinals. They're coached by, of course, Rick Pitino's son. And actually, I believe Rick Pitino's son coaches the team as the number 10 seed that will score off against Louisville, the Minnesota Golden Gophers out of the Big Ten. So a Big Ten ACC matchup there. And then to wrap it all up, the number 2 seed in the East, the Michigan State Spartans winning the Big Ten tournament. A thrilling game this afternoon against Michigan. And they're going to score off against the 15 seed Bradley. So there is your Eastern regional bracket. And I'm going to start off by giving you our first round projections, and then we'll go along with each round accordingly. Duke, I like Duke here. Obviously, it doesn't matter if it's NC Central or North Dakota State. It's Duke, no doubt about it. VCU and UCF, this is a very tough one to call, if I'm going to be quite honest. Very tough, but I'm going to give the slight edge to VCU based on experience. Don't forget, we'll all never forget back in 2011 when they made that memorable run to the Final Four with Shaka Smart. Of course, he's no longer there, but do we have a 12-5 upset here with Mississippi State against Liberty? That's a tough one. I mean, Mississippi State had a great year, but I don't know why, but I'm Liberty in this one. I think I could see a 12-5 here. I really could. Then again, I could see another upset here. I mean, Virginia Tech against St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis, came out of nowhere to win the A-10. I like that young team, but there's just something about Virginia Tech, and I could see them and Duke meeting up in the Sweet 16 down the road. And I know NF will probably be nervous about that one because Tech beat Duke at Vodtech last month. So maybe it could happen again. Maryland against either Belmont or Temple. I like the Terps in this one. Proven experience. We all know that. 2002, of course, they went all the way, won the national championship. LSU against Yale. This is a very intriguing matchup here from the 14-3 position. But there's just something about LSU. I think LSU, they had a phenomenal year, and I think they're the better team here. Very tough one to call here. Louisville against Minnesota. Very, very tough here. But my gut's telling me to go with Louisville, and I'm going to go with Louisville in this one. And then from there, Michigan State against Bradley. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. Michigan State. Tom Izzo. Never bet against Tom Izzo at this time of the year. We know what Michigan State can do at this time of the year. So, 2000 national champions. Made it back to the title game in 2009. Got clocked by Carolina. So, we'll talk about them in a bit. So, Duke, VCU, Liberty, Virginia Tech, Maryland, LSU, Louisville, Michigan State. That's who I like in the early half of that East bracket. So, nothing more to say here. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in, the voice of March Madness. And, well, I mean, saw Duke come out of nowhere to win the ACC, especially that 5-star against Carolina and on Friday night. And
yep.
MF, I'm sure you got to be grinning from ear to ear because you're Dukies, #1 overall seed. How's that sound to you?
I mean, it is definitely, I'm very happy with it. The bracket looks really good for Duke. The one team I'm really worried about is going to be Michigan State. Anthony, you're absolutely right. Michigan State is a pedigree team. They have been in the Final Four. They've won a national championship before. They are no stranger to the tournament. The way I see it is, Duke definitely is going to win the first round matchup. I think they should not have any problems. But again, the leer and now the fear of all the #1 seeds is that, it happened just 1 year ago. So not just Duke is on notice, but all of the #1s are all on notice because of the fact they don't want to be Virginia. They don't want to be that next victim of the shocking 16-1 upset. Back in the day, we were like, oh, yeah, 1/16, put it in the bucket, it's guaranteed. Oh, no, after what happened 1 year ago, after literally what happened a year ago today, as a matter of fact, a year ago to the day of the infamous 16-1 upset, Duke's got to be very leery of who they get in the tournament. So obviously they're gonna win their first round matchup, but like I said, every 1 seed's now got to remember, we don't want to be Virginia. We don't want to be that upset team. 8-9, I'm putting it to the 9. I'm giving it to UCF. The 12-5, yes, there's a 12-5 upset, Anthony. I agree. But this is not the one. I got Mississippi State moving on. Virginia Tech versus St. Louis. I got Virginia Tech moving on. I kind of disagree with you, Anthony, about it. And the thing is, as far as me feeling about Virginia Tech and Duke, I'm actually not concerned about Virginia Tech and Duke. I'll even give a spoiler alert. I do have that as a Sweet 16 matchup, but I got Duke going over. I think the reason why is because, for one, Zion Williamson did not play in that game. Remember, Zion had that knee injury against Carolina in the first battle. That's why Virginia Tech basically had their way with the Duke Blue Devils. I think with Zion on the court, I think that's going to be a lot different this time around. So that's where I feel about that matchup. As far as the others go, basically it's almost chalk the whole way through. I got Maryland, I got LSU, I got Louisville, and of course I got Michigan State. I got Michigan State making a deep run in this NCAA tournament. I'm not going to tell you where, not yet, but we'll go from there. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours. East Regional, let's go.
All right, let's go indeed. Yeah, I mean, like you basically said, Fletch. I mean, in the past years we've always talked about the one seed um beating beating a 16 seed easily, that it's a lock. But after what happened last year, I mean both number one seeds from each of the regions, they have to be leery of thinking, could this happen to us? But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I got Duke moving on. No doubt, they should have no problem with whoever they play. I'm gonna go with VCU to beat UCF, and I'm gonna go with the upset too. I got Liberty beating Mississippi State. I mean, I think this is the team that Mississippi State really has to look out for, because Liberty, I mean, played well in their conference tournament. Yeah, and Virginia Tech, I got them moving on, and then I got Maryland as well. I got LSU beating Yale. I got Louisville beating Minnesota, and then of course Michigan State should have no problems with Bradley. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on it. So let's move right along, Florio.
And we will move on to the number 2 overall seed in this tournament. They come out of the South region. Here you go, F, another ACC team, the Virginia Cavaliers. Redemption for Virginia. They're the number 1 seed. They're the number 2 overall seed this time around. And they're going to be squaring off against Gardner-Webb, making their first ever appearance in the tournament. By the way, these are Friday, Sunday games in Columbia, South Carolina. And I think based on this, I think we all know where MF and his crew will be heading, without a doubt. Intriguing 8-9 matchup here. The number 8 seed, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, the Rebels, they're going to be squaring off against the number 9 seed, Oklahoma Sooners. Oh, what a matchup that's going to be. Shark Tank, San Jose, California, Friday, Sunday games as follows. The number 5 seed, the Wisconsin Badgers out of the Big Ten. They're going to be squaring off against a very unlikely Pac-12 tournament champion, the Oregon Ducks. Oregon against Wisconsin. Maybe the most intriguing 12-5 matchup we'll ever see. And then from there, the number 4 seed, the Kansas State Wildcats out of the Big 12. And they're going to be squaring off against UC Irvine at the number 13 seed. Hartford, Connecticut, games on Thursday and Saturday. I'm going to tell you right now, this is where my crew and I will be heading, because I love the matchups in Hartford, without a doubt. And here's the reason why. The number 6 seed, your reigning, defending, undisputed national champions, the Villanova Wildcats, winning their 3rd consecutive Big East tournament championship in a very thrilling yet controversial game against Seton Hall in the title game last night in MSG. They're going to be squaring off against the Gales of St. Mary's. Now, St. Mary's, the team that did the unthinkable and upset Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference tournament title game. And that's how they got in there. So Villanova against St. Mary's. And then from there, the number 3 seed, the Purdue Boilermakers out of the Big Ten. And they're going to be squaring off against Old Dominion. Now, a very touching story about Old Dominion. Their head coach, Jeff Jones, back in September, was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And what a great story this is. I mean, this is a praise God moment if there ever was one. Winning the Conference USA tournament, and I couldn't be any happier for those guys. And, you know, I love stories like that, stories of redemption and inspiration, and makes me want to root for those guys, without a doubt. Friday, Sunday games in Columbus, Ohio. The number 7 seed, the Cincinnati Bearcats, the winners of the American Athletic Conference tournament. They upset the top seed Houston this afternoon. And they're going to be squaring off against, now this is another intriguing matchup, the Iowa Hawkeyes, who had a surprisingly deep run in the Big Ten tournament. So Iowa against Cincinnati. And then from there, the number 2 seed, the Tennessee Volunteers out of the SEC, coached by the great Rick Barnes. You know, Rick Barnes used to coach the PC and also had some good years at Purdue. He's now taken Tennessee to a number 2 seed. Many felt they probably should have been a number 1 seed. They had a great argument. But nonetheless, they got dropped to the 2 line. I think it was because they got manhandled by Auburn this afternoon. I'm sure Lindsey McCormick's probably doing cartwheels right now. And then from there, Tennessee will be squaring off against the number 15 seed, Colgate. We ain't talking about the toothpaste, folks. Colgate, the number 15 seed out of the, I don't know which conference they're out of because they got an automatic bid. So there you have it. There is your South regional bracket. So we'll start things off with MF, and MF, it's Virginia in there. You got Tennessee in there. I mean, but I'm sure you're very happy. 2 ACC teams as number 1 seeds.
Yes, I'm very happy about that. But if you're Virginia, you're not happy about this. The defending national champion is in your bracket. Not good if you're seeing Villanova there. I would be a little apprehensive about seeing Virginia. If you're Virginia, you might not want to see them in the regional final, because if Nova gets there, I don't know. That might be trouble for Virginia. Obviously, I got them going through the next round. 8-9, I got the 9. I got Oklahoma winning. The 12-5, unfortunately, this is not where I got the upset. This is where I got Wisconsin winning. The 4-13, easy, K-State, no doubt about it. Again, like I said, Nova. I got them winning and moving on to the next round. The 3-14, I got Purdue. The 10-7, I got Cincinnati, and obviously I got Tennessee moving on, knocking off Colgate. Look, I understand why a lot of people were a little upset about Tennessee not getting a 1 seed, because you're thinking, oh, they've been there all year, you know, they've been hanging out. But look, to me, yes, the punishment is because they did lose badly to Auburn, and I really think that they deserve to drop to the 2. And to think about it, Virginia was at the top all year long. They were really good. They had the better record than Tennessee. So I get it where a lot of people are griping, but to me, I have no qualms whatsoever. I'm not gonna gripe like everybody else is. To me, I'm sorry, Virginia's more deserving of the number 1 seed, and to have, I believe, the number 2 overall seed. Look, they did lose to North Carolina in the semifinal, which was well, actually no, they got upended by Florida State in the semifinal of the ACC tournament, which was a very good game. So no, I think at the end of the day, they did what they needed it to do. They were the ACC regular season champions, Virginia. So, I mean, I have no arguments here. I thought they deserved to have the number 1 seed. So that's my bracket. That's my region, which is, I believe this is the South. So Michael Bullock, front and center, my friend. Give me your prediction on your bracket.
All right. Well, yeah, for Virginia, I mean, there's no way they're going to have a repeat of losing this time around. So I got Virginia moving on. As far as the Ole Miss, Oklahoma, I do agree. I got to go with Oklahoma. Wisconsin and Oregon, I'm going to go with Wisconsin here. And, of course, Kansas State and UC Irvine. I got to go with Kansas State here to move on as well. And then, of course, yeah, Villanova. I mean, they may be a six seed out of that region, but I'm going to say it right now. They are the most dangerous number 6 seed out of the region because they are the defending national champions, and you certainly don't want to see them, especially if you're Virginia. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how that goes. Purdue and Old Dominion. I'm going to have to go with Purdue in this one. Cincinnati and Iowa. Obviously, I'm going with Cincinnati. And then, of course, I got Tennessee having no problem with Colgate. So Florio, I give it to you.
Yes, indeed. I pretty much have all chalk here as well. I got Virginia getting their redemption over Gardner-Webb. Ole Miss over Oklahoma, although that is a very tough one to call. Wisconsin, tournament tested. We all know that. We all know this is another team that usually kicks on the burners at this time of the year. Made it all the way to the title game in 2015 before losing to MF's Dukies. I had a bit of a time with K-State and UC Irvine. UC Irvine, that could be a danger team to watch, but Kansas State, I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt on that one. But don't be surprised if UC Irvine possibly steals that one. Villanova against St. Mary's. Got to go with Nova here. I mean, St. Mary's, great story, upsetting Gonzaga last week, but I don't see them upsetting the champs here. Purdue and Old Dominion. As much as I would love to see Old Dominion, you know, especially after what Coach Jones went through with the prostate cancer, I really want to see Old Dominion go far. But Purdue was just too good this year. I got to go with Purdue here. Cincinnati over Iowa. That's an easy one. I mean, especially after what Cincinnati did in the American Conference tournament today, especially knocking off Houston. And then from there, Tennessee over Colgate. Absolutely. So nothing more to say here. Let's move on to the Midwest region. By the way, I do want to address the games. Well, I'll get to the start times here. The first 4 games, Belmont Temple, NC Central, North Dakota State will be at 6:40 on True TV. And then Belmont and Temple will follow that. That'll be on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday night, Prairie View and Fairleigh Dickinson will score off in 1 at 6:40. And then St. John's and Arizona State will score off at 9:10. So that's that. The East Region games, NC Central, North Dakota State winner against Duke. That'll be on Friday night at 7:10 on CBS. The VCU-UCF game will follow that immediately on CBS. Mississippi State against Liberty, 7:27 on True TV on a Friday. Virginia Tech and St. Louis will follow that. Maryland Temple, Belmont winner will square off on True TV, 3:10 p.m. on Thursday. And then at 12:40, that'll be immediately following the Yale LSU game. That'll be at 12:40. The Minnesota Louisville game will kick off the tournament at 12:15 on CBS. And then following that at around 2:45 or so will be the Bradley and Michigan State matchup out of the East. In the South, Gardner-Webb and Virginia, 3:10, following the Oklahoma Ole Miss game. And then from there, that'll be on Friday. And then also on Friday, 2 o'clock on TBS, UC Irvine against Kansas State. The Oregon-Wisconsin game around 4:30 or so will follow that. For the Hartford games, starting off, St. Mary's and Villanova, 7:20, Thursday night on TBS. And then following that will be the Old Dominion Purdue game, around 9:50 or so. And then 12:15 on CBS on Friday, Iowa and Cincinnati, followed by Colgate and Tennessee at around 2:45 or so. So those are the South Regional matchups. Now let's get, and the East Region will be, that Final Four will be held at the Capital One Arena, the Capital One Center in Washington, D.C., the home of the Stanley Cup champion Capitals. The South Regional Final will be in Louisville, Kentucky at the KFC Yum Center. And the Midwest region will be at the Sprint Center in Kansas City. Now let's get into that side of the bracket right here and now. The number 3 overall seed and the number 1 seed in that bracket. Oh God, another ACC team? You got to be kidding me. The North Carolina Tar Heels, 17th time that they're a number 1 seed, more than any school in history. And they're going to be squaring off against the number 16 seed Gales of Iona. Intriguing 8-9 matchup here. Number 8 seed, the Utah State Aggies, the winners of the Mountain West tournament. They're going to be squaring off against the number 9 seed, the Washington Huskies, the runners-up in the Pac-12 tournament. They lost to Oregon last night at T-Mobile Arena. Number 5 seed, the Auburn Tigers, the winners of the SEC tournament after that dominant performance over Tennessee this afternoon in Nashville. They're going to have a very tough test on their hands against New Mexico State. Perhaps that could be MF's 12-5 upset. We'll see. Number 4 seed, another proven tournament team, the Kansas Jayhawks. Bit of a down year for Bill Self's crew. But they made it, but they had a good enough resume to get in. Number 4 seed. They're going to be squaring off against number 13 seed, Northeastern. And then from there, number 6 seed, the Iowa State Cyclones, the winners of the Big 12 tournament. After that dominant performance of Kansas last night in Kansas City, they're going to be squaring off against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number 3 seed, the Houston Cougars, coached by Kelvin Sampson. You know, he had those great years in Oklahoma and Indiana. And now he takes Houston to the tournament, and they're going to be squaring off against number 14 seed Georgia State. 7-10 matchup. Number 7 seed, you heard me talk about this team on our Strictly Sports shows a couple of weeks ago. The Wolford Terriers. Oh boy, are they going to be a tough out, let me tell you. And they're going to have a tough test because they're going to be squaring off against the number 10 seed, Seton Hall Pirates out of the Big East. They pushed Villanova to the limit and then some last night in Madison Square Garden, but came up just a little bit short. And the number 2 seed in the Midwest, the Kentucky Wildcats, another proven tournament team, John Calipari and company, losing in the semifinal. I believe it was to Tennessee. And they're going to be squaring off against number 15 seed, Abilene Christian. Iona, North Carolina will take place in Columbus, Ohio, 9:20 on TNT, following the Washington-Utah State game at 6:50 on Friday night. The Auburn, New Mexico State, Kansas Northeastern matchups will be in Salt Lake City, Utah. On Thursday, Auburn, New Mexico State, 1:30 on TNT. Kansas and Northeastern, 4 o'clock on TNT. Iowa State, Ohio State, Houston, Georgia State. Those games will be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Friday night, 7:20 on TBS, Georgia State, Houston. Ohio State and Iowa State will follow that. And then the Seton Hall, Wolford, Kentucky, Abilene Christian, Jacksonville, Florida, Thursday night. Abilene Christian, Kentucky, 7:10 on CBS, and then Seton Hall and Wolford will follow that. So there you have that. So with all that being said, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on the Midwest region. North Carolina, number 1 seed, Kentucky at number 2. How about it?
All right. Yeah, obviously I'm going to have the North Carolina Tar Heels basically moving on. They should have no problem with Iona. Utah State and Washington. I mean, that's a tough one for me to call, but I'm going to go with Utah State to win this. Auburn and New Mexico State. I mean, man, this is another tough one. I mean, part of me, but you know what? I'm actually going to do it. I think that I'm going to call for the upset here. New Mexico State will beat Auburn in a very close one, to say the very least. Kansas, I think they got no problem with Northeastern. I got Iowa State moving on to beat Ohio State. The Houston Cougars, I mean, that's a team to definitely keep an eye on throughout this tournament. I mean, after what they did this season, I got Wolford moving on to after beating Seton Hall, and then of course Kentucky, a team who's had a lot of experience, especially with John Calipari. I think they should have no problem. So, yeah, so those are my predictions for who's moving on in the Midwest region. So, Florio, it is yours.
Yes, North Carolina over Iona. Definitely see that. Utah State, especially with that impressive victory in the Mountain West Championship game over San Diego State. I definitely like Utah State to beat Washington. That would have been a tough one if Washington had won the Pac-12, but after what Oregon did to them, I have no faith in them. So give me Utah State in that one. I agree with you, Bullock. I'm calling for a second 12-5 upset here. I like New Mexico State over Auburn, even though Auburn, beat the snot out of Tennessee this afternoon. I just think New Mexico State, something about them. And then Kansas, I like Kansas over Northeastern. Iowa State over Ohio State, especially after that great run by Iowa State to come out of nowhere and win the Big 12. Houston over Georgia State. Great year for Houston, 31-3, an incredible year for them. Of course, I'm going to go with Wofford over Seton Hall. It hurts me to pick against a Big East team, but it is what it is. But I've been preaching about Wofford, a very dangerous three-point shooting team, and that's why I'm very high on Wofford, without a doubt. And then to close it out, of course, I got Kentucky over Abilene Christian. So nothing more to say here. So MF, Duke, Virginia, North Carolina, first time since three Big East teams had number one seeds in 2009. 3 ACC teams as number one seeds. How about that?
I couldn't. Well, I wasn't surprised because North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia all deserve them. They all deserve to be number one seeds. They've been unbelievable all year long. You're not gonna be surprised where my Final Four lies. I'm not gonna tell you it yet, but let me tell you, it is ACC heavy. I'm not gonna tell you what it is yet, but I'm just telling you, it is ACC heavy. So. North Carolina, easy win. I got you that. I disagree with both you gentlemen. I actually got Washington to knock off Utah State. Yes, that is the 12-5 upset. You got it right. I got New Mexico over Auburn. Kansas wins. Iowa State wins. Houston wins. Initially, when the first bracket came out, I had Seton Hall. But then I started hearing everybody talking about Wofford, not just Anthony. Anthony was talking about him a couple of weeks ago, but now I'm hearing from even the experts, Jay Billis, all these guys talking about how great Wofford is. I changed my pick. I got Wofford going through to the next round, and they will play Kentucky in the next round. So with that said, Anthony, it is all yours. It's time for the West.
The West region, featuring the number 4 overall seed and the number 1 seed in that bracket, the Gonzaga Bulldogs out of the West Coast Conference. And they're going to square off against the winner of the play-in game between Fairleigh Dickinson and Prairie View. By the way, the West Regional will be in Anaheim, California, by the way. These first set of games will be in Salt Lake City, Utah on Thursday and Saturday night. The Fairleigh Dickinson Prairie View winner against Gonzaga, 7:27 p.m. on True TV. And then following that, at 9:57 approximately on True TV in Salt Lake City, Utah, the number 8 seed, another tournament veteran, the Syracuse Orange, the legendary Jim Boeheim, 34th tournament appearance for Coach Boeheim in Syracuse. Very impressive. And they're going to square off against the number 9 seed Baylor Bears out of the Big 12. Interesting matchup there. Thursday, Saturday games in Hartford, Connecticut at the Elite XL Center. 2 o'clock on TBS. The number 4 seed, the Florida State Seminoles. Let me backtrack here. Number 5 seed, the Marquette Golden Eagles out of the Big East. And they're going to square off against another tournament darling from years past, as far as those little schools that could. The Murray State Racers, 4:30 on TBS. Marquette against Murray State. Another one of the reasons why I wanted Hartford. And then from there, the number 4 seed, it is the Florida State Seminoles, making it all the way to the ACC championship game, only to lose to MF's Dukies last night in Charlotte. And they're going to be tested. 2 o'clock on TBS on Thursday, they're going to be squaring off against the Vermont Catamounts out of the America East Conference. So So there you have that. Friday, Sunday games in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 4 o'clock on TNT. The number 6 seed, the Buffalo Bulls. Here's another team I've been very high on. They're going to be squaring off. Of course, they came out of the MAC conference. They won the regular season in the tournament there. And they're going to square off against the winner of the number 11 seed play-in game, and maybe the most intriguing play-in matchup of the 4. The Arizona State Sun Devils out of the Pac-12 and the St. John's Red Storm out of the Big East, coached by the legendary Chris Mullin. That'll be at 4 o'clock on TNT Friday in Tulsa. At 1:30 Friday in Tulsa, the number 3 seed, the Texas Tech Red Raiders out of the Big 12. They're going to square off against Northern Kentucky. So that takes care of that. And then finally, Thursday, Saturday games in Des Moines, Iowa. At 6:50 on TNT, the number 7 seed, another team that had a great year, another out-of-nowhere team that had a great year, the Nevada Wolfpack. And they're going to square off against the number 10 seed, proven tournament veteran as well, 2-time back-to-back national champions in 2006 and 2007, the Florida Gators. And then from there, the number 2 seed, the Michigan Wolverines, coached by John Beilein, runners-up in the Big Ten tournament, losing to Michigan State in that thrilling game this afternoon in Chicago. Runners-up last year to Villanova. And they're going to be squaring off against Montana, the number 15 seed out of the Big Sky Conference. That's on TNT. So those are your matchups there. So break it all down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Fairleigh Dickinson or Prairie View. I got Gonzaga, without doubt. Syracuse and Baylor, coin toss. Got to go with experience. Got to go with Syracuse. You can never bet against Jimmy Boeheim. Absolutely not. Marquette against Murray State. There is potential for a 12-5 here, but I like Marquette in this one. They made it to the semifinals of the Big East, only to lose to Seton Hall in a tough game on Friday night. Florida State and Vermont. Got to go with Florida State here. They really impressed me during that ACC tournament, knocking off Virginia, but coming up just short against Duke. So very impressed. I got Florida State in that one. Doesn't matter if it's Arizona State or St. John's. I like Buffalo in this one. This is another little team that I'm very high on. Texas Tech against Northern Kentucky. I got to go with the Texas Tech here. Nevada against Florida. Usually I would go with the experience with Florida, but no. Nevada, something about Nevada. I like their body of work. I'm going with Nevada here. And then obviously I'm going to take Michigan over Montana. So that's my thought on the West. So sorry, MF, no ACC clean sweep on the one line. Gonzaga takes the last number 1 seed. Looking at the West, how's it look to you?
You know what? I gotta say, I don't mind at all. But Gonzaga, this is a tough road for them to get to the Final Four. You got some powerhouses in this bracket, man. You got Nevada, you got Buffalo, you got Syracuse, who's very tested driven, and then you got the national runner-up Michigan. I mean, you want to talk about a group of death? This is the group of death. If you're Gonzaga, you're not happy with this bracket at all. I do got them moving on to the next round. I got Syracuse over Baylor, Marquette over Murray State, Florida State winning. Yes, I got Buffalo as well. I got Texas Tech, I got Nevada, and I got Michigan. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I gotta go with Gonzaga as well to move on. I also have Syracuse moving on as well. Yeah, I definitely got to go with Marquette as well. I got Florida State beating Vermont. I got Buffalo beating whoever it is, but it really doesn't matter. But and I got Texas Tech beating Northern Kentucky. I got Nevada beating Florida, and then I got Michigan beating Montana. But yeah, I do agree. I mean, if you're Gonzaga right now, like you said, I mean, this is not the kind of bracket you wanted from your region, because there are some teams there that could beat them. I mean, Michigan's definitely one of them. Who knows? Maybe Buffalo could even pull off a victory over them. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But for Gonzaga, it's going to be a tough road if they want to get to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the Final Four. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. Florio, let's move right along.
And I'm going to bring in MF. MF, we're going to run the table here. Well, not quite the whole table, but who's going to the Final Four in the eyes of the voice of March Madness? Good old MF Michael Fletcher.
All right, I guess we're gonna go region by region now, and then get to the Final Four.
Exactly right.
All right, start off in the East. I got Duke going to the Sweet 16. They will play Virginia Tech. I have LSU, and they will be playing Michigan State. Then Duke and Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Obviously, everybody's picking them. No big surprise here. Off the back of Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish, and that great young nucleus with probably the greatest head coach in college basketball history, Mike Krzyzewski. The Duke Blue Devils wins the East Regional. They go to the Final Four. Over in the South, I got Virginia going to the Sweet 16. I got Wisconsin going to the Sweet 16. Villanova and Tennessee. Elite Eight, I got Virginia and Villanova, and Virginia redeems themselves, exorcise the demon from the big flame out a year ago. They go to the Final Four, winners of the South. Now, Midwest region, I got North Carolina moving to the Sweet 16. I got Kansas going to the Sweet 16. I got Houston going to the Sweet 16. And I also got Kentucky going to the Sweet 16. All chalk. From there, North Carolina and Kentucky go into the Elite Eight. North Carolina wins the Midwest region. That's right. 3 ACC teams goes to the Final Four. And then on the final bracket, I got Gonzaga knocking out Syracuse, Florida State knocking out Marquette, Buffalo going to the Sweet 16 as they knock off Texas Tech, and Michigan knocking off Nevada. Gonzaga goes to the Elite Eight against Michigan, and the Michigan Wolverines wins the West Regional and goes to the Final Four. My Final Four for 2019, Duke, Michigan, Virginia, and North Carolina. Michael Bullock, it is all yours, my friend.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like short and sweet. I'm just giving you who I think is gonna go to the Final Four overall from there. I mean, yeah, starting in the East. Yeah, you got teams like Michigan State. I mean, I think they could. I mean, I got Duke and Michigan State basically going to the Elite Eight as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they should have no problem getting there. And then you got two of the best coaches going at it in Tom Izzo and Mike Krzyzewski. But in the end, Duke will reign supreme and punch their ticket to Minneapolis, Minnesota in the Final Four. As far as the South, yeah, I mean, as far as who I got going to the Elite Eight, I think it's going to be Virginia and the defending national champion Villanova Wildcats, and in the end, it'll be the Virginia Cavaliers moving on and punching their ticket to the Final Four. And then as far as the Midwest region goes, my Elite Eight teams. I mean, I think it's going to be it's going to be North Carolina and Kentucky, but in the end, the Tar Heels will reign supreme and go to another Final Four. And then I got Gonzaga and Michigan going to the Elite Eight, but it'll be the Michigan Wolverines ending the run of Gonzaga and punching their ticket to the Final Four. So my Final Four teams: Duke, Virginia, North Carolina, and Michigan. Florio, it's yours.
Just about agree. Going down the East, I got Duke over VCU. I got Virginia Tech over Liberty, LSU over Maryland, Michigan State over Louisville, and then Duke over Virginia Tech, Michigan State over LSU, setting up that dream East final that I know MF would die for. Michigan State against Duke, Tom Izzo, Coach K. Got to go with the Dukies, especially Zion Williamson. He is a superstar in the making. And then from there, so I got Duke coming out of the East and the South, Virginia over Ole Miss, Wisconsin over Kansas State, Villanova over Purdue. I agree with that. Tennessee over Cincinnati. I like Virginia over Wisconsin. Slight disagreement here. I like Tennessee in that one. I don't know why. I just had this feeling about Tennessee. I mean, this was a bit of a down year for Nova, even though they came out of nowhere to win the Big East. But I just got this feeling about Tennessee. And then I got Virginia beating Tennessee, and that'll put Virginia in the Final Four. Out of the South and the Midwest, North Carolina over Utah State. I'm going with another upset here. I like New Mexico State to beat Kansas. I just was not impressed with Kansas during that Big 12 championship game. I think that's going to come back to haunt them. Houston over Iowa State. And as much as high as I am on Wolford, you know how high I am on Wolford, I got to go with Kentucky here based on that experience. But don't be surprised if Wolford makes a deep run here, guys. I'm telling you. Watch out for him. But I got to go with Kentucky over Wolford. North Carolina will end the run of New Mexico State. I got Kentucky knocking off Houston. Kentucky and Carolina, another MF dream matchup. Powder Blue Blazer MF. I know he'd be all ready with that. But it's Carolina over Kentucky all day, without a doubt. So Carolina comes out in the Midwest. In the West, Gonzaga over Syracuse. Florida State over Marquette. Buffalo upsets Texas Tech. They go to the Sweet 16. Michigan beats Nevada. Gonzaga beats Florida State. Michigan ends the dream of Buffalo. But I disagree. I'm going with Gonzaga to beat Michigan. Yes, they had the hiccup against St. Mary's, but Gonzaga was just so hot this year. They were the hottest team at one time, and that's why they were the number one team in back-to-back weeks of our college basketball power rankings. The little team that could 20 years ago that won the hearts of all of us, and that's really where my love of underdog stories began, with Gonzaga 20 years ago, going to the Elite Eight, only to lose to eventual champion UConn that year. So I have all number one seeds here, folks. I got Duke and Gonzaga, Virginia and North Carolina. And now it's time. It's now time to find out who the three of us think will ultimately cut down the nets the night after WrestleMania, Monday, April 8th at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota on CBS. Michael Bullock, you get the honor. We started off with you. Who's walking out? Who's cutting down the nets in Minnesota on the night after WrestleMania?
Well, as far as who I have going to play in the championship game, well, I got Duke basically beating Michigan, and then as far as the other one, I gotta go with North Carolina and North Carolina beating Virginia, and then as far as who's going to be cutting down the nets the night after WrestleMania. I mean, just imagine. I mean, Duke, North Carolina. I mean, it's always big when it comes to the regular season. But could you imagine? I mean, the rivalry being taken to another level. I mean, with them playing for the national championship. my goodness, I mean, that would be awesome. But in the end, who's cutting down the nets the night after WrestleMania? Fletch, you're going to be happy with what I'm about to say. It's going to be the Duke Blue Devils who will be cutting down the nets. Mike Krzyzewski will win another national championship. Florio, it is yours.
Duke over Gonzaga. I agree. Carolina and Virginia, that's very, very tough to call. But I got to go with Carolina. I think we're destined. I mean, they've never played 4 times in a year. And if they do it, it would be for the national championship. And it would, without a doubt, be the most highly anticipated national championship game of all time. And hell, it could surpass Carolina and Villanova from 3 years ago as quite possibly the greatest national championship game of all time. If that ACC semifinal on Friday night was not any indication, I don't know. So, and then from there, Duke and Carolina. I agree with you, Michael Bullock. The Duke Blue Devils will be cutting down the nets. Coach K, for the 6th time, a national champion. And here's a good sign. 4 of Duke's 5 national championships, 4 of them came as a number 1 seed. So there's some food for thought for you. But nonetheless, Duke over Carolina, if it should happen, will be the greatest title game of all time. Make that Villanova-Carolina game from 3 years ago look like an absolute dud. So that's all I can say on that. The Dukies. I'm going with the Dukies, baby. Any more to word to Dickie V. So nothing more to say. It's only fitting we end it with the voice of March Madness, good old MF Michael Fletcher. Who's going to add another chapter to the legacy that is Screaming Michael Fletcher?
I got Duke beating Michigan in the national semifinal. I got North Carolina beating Virginia in the national semifinal. So basically, our final is absolutely complete. I also agree with you, and I also agree with the national champion. I got Duke winning the national title over North Carolina. It's going to be an unbelievable tournament. I think Zion Williamson will be the most outstanding player of the tournament. And yeah, it is definitely going to be a great, great tournament. And Anthony, one other thing. The 2 previous times that Duke played in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in 1991 and 2001,
It was 1992.
Well, no, yeah, all right, yeah, you're right. 92 and 2001
Metrodome.
In the Metrodome, they went on to win the national title.
Exactly right.
They knocked off Michigan in 92, Arizona in the second time when they went back to when they were in Minneapolis to play for the national title in the Final Four. I think it's gonna happen again. For the 3rd time in the Twin Cities, Duke wins the national championship and takes the trophy home. They get to cut down the nets. They're going to get to hear that one shining moment one more time. I got Duke winning it all. And you know what? It's going to be an honor to work the Final Four. And it's going to be exciting to have Sean Bay Lambert and Richard Lopes with me, Eric Carrier on sidelines. And it is going to be, along with Sarah Mendez, we are going to have an absolute blast covering the Final Four and the entire tournament, man. It is going to be something to behold, and I cannot wait for the tournament to start on Thursday. Even though we got the first 4 games, but everybody knows the tournament truly begins at 12 o'clock on Thursday. Let the madness begin.
Let the madness begin. And let me just say this. Once again, I am bringing back the Strictly Sports Bracket Manager group on CBSSports.com. I have already created it. CMF has already thrown his hat into the ring. I'm not at all surprised. I'm hopeful that Bullock will throw his hat in there as well. And And I also
Oh, my hat is in there.
Your hat is in there. All right, praise the Lord. That's great. And then hopefully Jimmy Alden and Matt Ward will join us as well. I also messaged some others who I thought might be interested. The link is on my Facebook page. If you all want to, if you're interested, click on the link or message me, and we'll take it from there. So I'm hoping for a big turnout, but if not, that's okay too. So that's it. So we're done with this. So we'll next be with you 24 hours from now, tomorrow night, immediately following Monday Night Raw for Ridiculously Raw, a loaded Monday Night Raw from the IWC capital of the world, Chicago, Illinois. Brock Lesnar in the house. Ronda Rousey against Dana Brooke for the Raw Women's Championship. Seth Rollins against Drew McIntyre. Kurt Angle will announce his WrestleMania opponent in his farewell match. Sami Zayn's going to be on the show. We're going to see what happens with him. So much more. It's going to be an exciting show. I can't wait. And then my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling. And then Tuesday night with MF over on Braceway 95, the Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll get into SmackDown Live. Kofi Kingston has to run the gauntlet. They're also saying that The Miz is going to address Shane O'Mac. So we'll see how that goes on Tuesday. And then as of right now, when it comes to Strictly Sports on Friday night, that show is up in the air. The reason why is Michael Bullock is not going to be on the show because he's going to be getting ready for the 24-hour Super Plunge as part of the Special Olympics Rhode Island. And he's going to need all the rest he can get with that. So he will not be with us on Friday night. Reason I say it's up in the air, it just depends on MF. If MF is available, we'll do the show. If not, then we'll have no choice but to cancel. So we'll definitely keep you updated. As of now, I cannot confirm if we're going to have a show on Friday night. Like I said, it depends on MF's status. So if he's available, we're in. If not, then we're going to have to put the kibosh on it for at least a week. So but we'll see what happens. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, D.D. Woodson and Derek Ferrera. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Monday. And until tomorrow night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching the 8th annual Strictly Sports Selection Sunday special right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And enjoy the madness because it's going to be a fun and bumpy ride. Good night, my friends.